So there is some new ground being broken here, and therefore the approach to development investment as a product from a lawyer's point of view is working closely with real estate investors to make this work for a multiplicity of end users, investors and developers. So there are some key issues around groundbreaking in terms of making the planning work, groundbreaking, making sure the product works, and you are looking at different types of component elements within the scheme. So, for example, if you were moving into a PRS unit, you would expect to see a concierge, you might expect to see a gym on site, you might even go so far as to expect a swimming pool, depending on where the area is, and ancillary retail and leisure, so that you've got a place to live in rather than just a unit to go home to. And this definition of placemaking is very important in the context of PRS, and will be the biggest single change to the way that developers and house builders in the UK have been used to building housing. The reality of delivering PRS is it's almost like a cradle-to-grave approach. So at the start of the project, you're dealing with all the site constraints and development issues. But to make PRS work, you've also got to look at the operator piece at the end of the development cycle, where having an operator that manages the product for the owner, whether it's an institutional investor or the developer itself, is a critical component element, because looking after the tenant's interests and the investor's interests through operator arrangements is the issue that the UK is grappling with at the moment. In North America and other parts of Europe, there are experienced operators working to keep PRS at a standard that keeps the investment at the right level from the point of view of owners. This is a new area in the UK, and new operators are starting to emerge so that the PRS product can be delivered from a cleared site through to an operating agreement that keeps the units in the right condition in terms of maintenance and replacement and life cycle through the usable development period of the built environment. What we're trying to provide, which I think Eversheds is uniquely capable of doing, is a completely integrated approach. So from the outset, we're looking at it from the point of view of development legal services, investor creating the investment package which is institutionally acceptable, and also dealing with the planning issues. Some planning authorities still haven't got to a point where they can understand what kind of use class this is, so there are some specific planning issues around the planning conditions, but also the terms of the Section 106. And outside of London, in planning terms, there has been some viability issues around PRS. So there are some specific issues around how you price the purchase of the land. So if a developer is dealing with a local authority for a PRS scheme, there may be some issues around whether the pricing of the product can be deferred to try and make the product more viable, so that the local authority's landowner and the developer are both getting their uplift on profit once the scheme has been delivered. The integrated approach that we bring here engages our colleagues on the structuring aspect from the very outset, because you're creating the structure as the development begins for the development cycle. So we're working closely with our corporate and commercial colleagues to find the right structure, the right housing for the product, whether it's an LLP or a company limited by shares, and then the tax treatment. And also there are issues around who's in that partnership structure which dictate what kind of structure it is. So for example, if you're sitting alongside another landowner or a public sector body that owns the land and you're putting the funding into the vehicle, the style of the vehicle and how it operates and how it's controlled and how revenue and funding is shared is a critical issue that we're working alongside our colleagues to deliver.